All right, today we're talking about tearing some things down, but maybe not in the way you're thinking. We're diving into this really powerful idea from our source material called tearing down the high places. And believe it or not, it all kicks off with this single, kind of ominous warning that just echoes through ancient history. It all starts with this sentence. You see it pop up again and again in the story of Israel's kings, even the good ones. After all the good they did, you get this little gut punch. But the high places were not removed. Man, there's a real weight to that, isn't there? It feels like this lingering problem that just won't go away, like a warning we're supposed to notice.
And it's not just a feeling. I mean, look at this. The source material points out just how intentional this is. This warning shows up over and over and over again. This is no accident. It's like this deliberate drumbeat in the background, a repeating red flag in the story.
So you gotta ask, right? If a phrase gets repeated that many times, it has to be a big deal. There's a lesson in there, something really crucial. So what was the warning supposed to teach them back then? And maybe more importantly, what's it supposed to teach us? So let's start there. This repeated warning is the very thing that got the author of our source material digging in the first place. It was this phrase that started this whole investigation into what these high places are really all about. So let's follow that journey together, shall we? We're going to unpack this ancient warning and see how our source connects it directly to our lives, right here, right now. Okay, so what was the big deal with these high places anyway? To really get the warning, we've got to first understand what they actually were. So to put it simply, high places were actual physical locations. Think unauthorized altars set up on hills and mountains. Now, here's the key thing. Even when they were used to worship the one true God, they represented a divided loyalty. They were a compromise, and they competed with the pure, centralized devotion that God required. But to really get why these physical places were such a huge deal, our source material makes a great point. We have to do a little mental time travel. We've got to try and transport ourselves into a totally different time, a completely different culture. And that leads us perfectly into our third section, a challenge for the mind. Because here's the big twist. The core argument here is that the modern version of these high places isn't physical at all. Now, to make this connection crystal clear, the source material does something pretty clever. It jumps from the Old Testament right into the New, and it focuses on one specific conversation that Jesus had. So a religious leader comes up to Jesus, probably trying to trip him up, and asks him this massive question. Out of all the laws, all the rules, what's number one? What's the absolute most important thing? And this is Jesus's famous answer. Love God with everything you've got. But notice the four parts he lists. All your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. It's a call for total, 100% all-in devotion. Our source material really zooms in on that third one, the mind, because it's the one we often just kind of gloss over. The point is that loving God isn't just an emotional feeling or a spiritual experience. It is fundamentally an intellectual act. Your thoughts, your reason, your intellect, they are a vital part of what it means to be truly devoted. And this slide right here is where it all comes together. It just lays it out so perfectly. On the left, you've got ancient Israel's problem, physical high places, these external sites that pulled worship away from God. Then on the right, you have our challenge today, the high places of the mind, the internal mindsets, the ideas, the philosophies that compete for that exact same devotion. So this brings us to our final and honestly most critical section. We've talked about the problem, both then and now, but so what? Why does this still matter so much today? Well, the source material does not pull any punches here. It says the threat of these high places of the mind is just as significant for us now as the physical ones were for ancient Israel. The warning, it argues, is absolutely timeless. And here is the call to action, plain and simple. Spiritual life is not a passive thing where you can just, leave your mind in the car. It's a battle that demands active, engaged, critical thinking. You have to use your mind to identify and then tear down the bad ideas that are competing for your devotion. And so, this is where we end. The whole point of this explainer brings us to this one moment of personal reflection. That warning about high places wasn't just for some kings who lived thousands of years ago. It's for every single one of us.
And the final question is one we each have to answer for ourselves. What are the high places in my own mind that compete for my ultimate devotion?